I should have known something was wrong the moment I saw the subject line in my inbox. Please report to conference room B at 2:30. HR and management will be present. Just one sentence, flat and clinical. No smiley faces, no context, nothing to soften the blow. My heart started pounding immediately. Emails like that never lead to good news. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon, and the office had that half-asleep atmosphere, where people were counting down the hours until they could escape. The printer hummed. The fluorescent lights flickered. Someone in accounting was quietly unwrapping a candy bar at their desk. I had my headphones in, trying to focus on a supply chain report that was due the next morning. But after that email, I couldn't see the words on the screen anymore. I kept telling myself it had to be something small. Maybe a performance review. Maybe they wanted me to take on a new project. Maybe there was a reorganization. But the pit in my stomach told me the truth long before I opened that conference room door. When I walked in, 3 people were already seated. My manager, who wouldn't meet my eyes. The HR rep, glasses perched low on her nose, a folder in her lap like she was holding evidence. And a higher-up executive I barely knew, arms folded, expression unreadable. They didn't even greet me. The silence in that room pressed down like a weight. Please sit down, the HR rep said finally, her voice flat as a gavel. I sat. I remember the sound of the chair scraping against the carpet, how loud it seemed in that suffocating silence. My palms were sweaty, my throat dry. Then she spoke the words that detonated my entire world in one short sentence. We decided to terminate your employment effective immediately. I froze. For a moment, I didn't even process it. Terminate? Like I was a contract, a piece of code, something you could just delete with a keystroke? I opened my mouth to ask why, but she was already sliding an envelope across the table. This decision is final, she added. You'll receive your severance in accordance with company policy. Security will assist you with collecting your belongings. Just like that. 3 years of dedication, of long nights and early mornings, of staying late to put out fires nobody else wanted to touch, reduced to a thin envelope and a canned script. My manager still wouldn't look at me. His eyes were glued to the table like he was the one being punished. That hurt more than the HR rep's cold delivery. He knew how hard I had worked. He knew how many times I had saved projects from disaster. He knew, and yet he said nothing. Finally, my voice cracked through the silence. Terminate me? For what reason? The HR rep's expression didn't change. We are under no obligation to disclose the details. That was it. No explanation. No chance to defend myself. No warning. No write-ups. No second chances. Just out. I stared at them, searching for any hint of humanity. The executive looked bored, already moving on in his mind. My manager's jaw was tight, but he stayed silent, and the HR rep just sat there, waiting for me to accept my fate. I remember standing up, my chair creaking, my legs shaky but steady enough to keep me upright. I looked each of them in the eye, even my cowardly manager, who finally raised his gaze for half a second before looking away again. You're making a mistake, I said, my voice low, even. Not a threat, not a plea, just a statement of fact. The HR rep gave a tiny sigh, the kind that said she'd heard that line 100 times before. To her, I was just another number, another termination to file. Security was waiting outside the conference room. They weren't rude, but their presence made the humiliation cut deeper. Like I was dangerous. Like I had to be escorted out to make sure I didn't steal the staplers on my way. They walked me to my desk while I carried a cardboard box, stuffing my keyboard, my pens, the framed photo of my family, the little cactus I had kept alive through 3 winters. My coworkers looked up, eyes wide, whispering. Some mouthed what happened, but I couldn't answer. My throat felt locked shut. Walking out of that building, box in my hands, I felt hollow. Rain tapped against the sidewalk, soaking my jacket as I tried to balance the box against my chest. Cars whooshed past on the street. People hurried by with umbrellas, living their lives while mine had just been uprooted. Anger bubbled in my chest, but underneath it was something sharper. Betrayal. I had given everything to that company. I had stayed late when others left. I had covered mistakes that weren't mine. I had sacrificed weekends, missed birthdays, lost sleep. And in the end, they couldn't even look me in the eye and tell me why I was being fired. That night, I sat on my couch staring at the box of my belongings. My phone buzzed with texts from coworkers. What happened? Are you okay? Did you quit? I didn't answer any of them. I didn't have the words. But as I sat there in the dark, anger twisting into something hotter, sharper, I realized something. They thought they had erased me in one meeting. They thought they could toss me aside, without consequence. But they had no idea just how much I had been holding together. They had no idea that firing me would set off a chain reaction they couldn't control. Because I wasn't just another employee. I was the glue, the bridge, the piece that made their entire machine run smoothly. And now that I was gone, the cracks were already starting to spread. They thought I would just disappear. They thought I would take the humiliation and vanish quietly. But they were wrong. Because the mistake they made that day wasn't just firing me. It was underestimating me. And by the time they realized what they'd done, it would already be too late. The first morning after being fired was strange. My alarm still went off at 6:30 out of habit. For a moment, I lay there in the gray light, staring at the ceiling, my mind going through the motions as if I were about to get up, shower, grab my badge, and head into the office. But then it hit me. I wasn't going there anymore. I had been erased from that routine. The silence was louder than I expected. No keyboard tapping. No chatter from the next cubicle. No clinking of coffee mugs in the break room. Just me, sitting in my apartment with a cup of coffee I didn't need to rush through. It should have felt freeing, but it didn't. It felt like someone had hit pause on my life while the world outside kept moving forward. But the world inside the company I had just left, it didn't move forward at all. In fact, it started to crumble. I didn't see it at first, of course. What I saw were the messages trickling in, texts from coworkers, then emails from clients who somehow still had my personal address. And then, by the end of the week, actual phone calls. At first, I ignored them. I was too raw, too angry. But curiosity got the better of me. The first one I picked up was from Jason, a project lead I'd worked closely with. His voice was frantic, almost apologetic. Listen, he said, I don't know what went down with HR, but the supply chain report you were working on, nobody can find the files. The server's a mess. Deadlines are slipping. We got clients breathing down our necks. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because of the bitter irony. That report had been sitting half-finished on my desktop when they marched me out. I knew the system better than anyone else. I was the one who had built most of the templates, automated the data pulls, and kept the fragile process from collapsing. They had assumed someone else could just pick it up. But the truth was, they had been leaning on me far more than they ever admitted. I didn't say that to Jason. I just let him talk. I could hear the frustration in his voice, the strain of someone trying to hold together a machine that was already rattling apart. Management said you left everything organized, he added, the irritation clear in his tone. I almost choked. Organized? They hadn't even given me time to log off properly. They had shoved an envelope into my hands and hustled me out like a criminal. Of course, nothing was organized. I hung up that call, but more followed. Another colleague messaged me that 3 key clients were threatening to pull contracts because they weren't getting timely responses. Someone else told me the executive who sat in that firing meeting had already sent out a company-wide email saying everything is under control. But from the sound of it, nothing was. By the second week, the rumors started circulating. People weren't just asking why I was fired anymore. They were demanding answers. When a company suddenly terminates someone with no warning and no explanation, it sends shockwaves. People start to wonder, if they did that to him, who's next? Co-workers whispered in hallways. Emails with the subject line, FYI, flew around like wildfire, and managers scrambled to maintain the illusion of stability. But illusions crack fast under pressure. One afternoon, I got a call from a former client. Not just any client. A big one, the kind that accounted for nearly a quarter of the company's revenue. He didn't waste time with small talk. I hear you're no longer with the firm, he said. But I also hear you were the only one who actually understood our account. I've sent 3 emails this week, and all I've gotten are vague promises and excuses. What's going on over there? I leaned back on my couch, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily overhead. A part of me wanted to shrug it off, let the company burn. But another part of me, call it pride, or maybe just a need to finally be heard, wanted to say it out loud. They fired me without warning, and now they're scrambling without me. Instead, I kept my voice calm. I'm not sure what they told you, but yes, I was managing your account. And yes, I was let go suddenly. I can't speak for them anymore. There was a pause. Then the client said the words that shifted everything. Well, if you're no longer there, maybe you and I should talk directly. That idea stuck with me long after I hung up, because if clients were reaching out to me, it meant the company had lost control of the narrative. And if they had lost control of the narrative, they were in trouble. Meanwhile, the texts from coworkers turned into full-on confessions. People told me how meetings had devolved into shouting matches, how deadlines were being missed left and right, how upper management was blaming everyone but themselves. One person even said, "Honestly, it feels like the moment you left, the heart of this place went with you." I won't lie, that one got to me. I had always felt invisible there, just another cog in the wheel. But maybe I hadn't been invisible after all. Maybe I had been holding more weight than I realized. By the end of the second week, the company sent out a damage control email. It was the kind of corporate jargon-laden message that pretended everything was fine while screaming the opposite between the lines. We remain committed to excellence. We are navigating transitions. Our team is stronger than ever. But I knew better. They wouldn't have sent that email unless things were falling apart. And sure enough, 2 days later, I got another phone call, this time from someone I never expected. My old manager, the same one who sat in that conference room and refused to meet my eyes. His voice was tight, nervous, like someone swallowing pride and hating every second of it. "Hey," he said awkwardly. "I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing." I almost laughed. "How I'm doing? You fired me without warning." There was a pause on the line. "It wasn't my call," he said quickly. "It came from above. I had no say." "Then why didn't you speak up?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Silence. Then a sigh. "Look, I can't talk about the details. But let's just say things aren't exactly going smoothly here." I leaned forward, the weight of his words sinking in. This wasn't just gossip. This was confirmation. The company was unraveling. "Some people are asking about you," he continued reluctantly. "Clients, even higher-ups. They want to know if maybe there's a way to fix this." That was the moment I realized something important. They didn't regret firing me because of who I was. They regretted it because of what I did for them, things nobody else could. And that regret, that was only going to grow. Because the longer I stayed gone, the more the cracks widened. The deadlines missed. The clients lost. The reputation tarnished. They thought they had gotten rid of me cleanly. But in truth, firing me wasn't the end of their problems. It was the beginning. By the 3rd week after my firing, it was like watching a building catch fire from a safe distance. At first, it's just a wisp of smoke curling out of the windows. Easy to ignore, easy to brush off as nothing. But then, the flames burst through, and suddenly the whole structure is glowing orange, crackling, collapsing on itself. Except the building wasn't made of wood or steel. It was made of deadlines, clients, trust, and people. And without me there, piece by piece, it was burning down. The messages from my former co-workers became almost daily updates now. Sarah, who had always been blunt, didn't sugarcoat it. "It's chaos here," she texted one morning. 2 people quit this week. 1 client pulled out completely. Management is holding emergency meetings, but they're basically just yelling at each other. Another coworker told me, "They try to assign your projects to 3 different people. None of them understand the systems you built. It's like watching toddlers try to fix a jet engine." I didn't know whether to laugh or feel bitter. Probably both. Because I remember those late nights when I was the last one in the office, tweaking formulas, automating reports, building shortcuts that kept us from drowning in work. Nobody noticed then. Nobody thanked me. But now, without those invisible safety nets, they were crashing straight through the holes. The first real crack that made headlines came when a major client went public with their frustration. They posted on LinkedIn a carefully worded but devastating statement about how they had enjoyed many years of collaboration with the company, but due to recent instability, they would be moving their business elsewhere. It spread like wildfire. People in the industry shared it, commented on it, whispered about what recent instability really meant. And it didn't take long for my name to come up in those conversations. One of my old colleagues called me late at night, practically whispering. "They're blaming your firing," she said. "Some execs are saying it shouldn't have happened. Others are doubling down. It's tearing the leadership team apart." I should have felt vindicated, and I did in part. But another part of me was angry that my entire career had been reduced to a corporate tug-of-war, angry that the people who cast me aside so easily were now scrambling, desperate to put out fires they had started themselves. But nothing compared to the moment I got an unexpected knock on my door. I opened it to see, believe it or not, my old manager, the same one who had called me awkwardly a week earlier. He looked different this time, though, exhausted. His tie was loose, his eyes hollow, like he hadn't slept in days. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped aside, more out of shock than generosity. He sat on my couch, his hands gripping his knees like he was holding himself together by sheer force of will. "Look," he said finally, "I know you probably don't want to hear this, and I don't blame you, but things are bad, really bad. We thought we could move forward without you, but we can't. The systems you put in place, the relationships you built, it's not something we can just replicate. The clients are furious. The staff is demoralized. We're hemorrhaging money." I let him talk. Honestly, it was strange hearing the words out loud, the admission of failure. "We made a mistake," he said finally. "I made a mistake." That last part hit me harder than I expected, not because I needed his apology, but because I never thought I'd hear it. "What do you want from me?" I asked. He hesitated. "We want you back." For a long moment, I just sat there, staring at him. The man who had watched me get escorted out of the office without lifting a finger was now sitting in my living room, begging me to return. The irony was almost too much. "You fired me without warning," I said, my voice low. "You humiliated me in front of the team. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" His face was pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. For once, he didn't have a script, no polished corporate response. Just silence. "I can't undo what happened," he said finally, "but I can tell you this. Without you, the company doesn't survive. The higher-ups know it. The clients know it. I know it. We need you." The words hung in the air like smoke. Part of me wanted to say yes, to take back the position I had worked so hard for, to reclaim the office that had been ripped away from me. But another part of me, the louder part, remembered the sting of that firing, the cold look in HR's eyes, the betrayal I had swallowed like glass. Why should I asked. He didn't have an answer, just silence. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. Because the truth was, I didn't need them anymore. They needed me. I didn't give him an answer that night. I told him I'd think about it, mostly to watch him squirm. But deep down, I already knew. My future didn't lie in crawling back to the company that had thrown me away. It lay in building something new, something mine. Still, I couldn't help but savor the irony. The company that fired me without warning was now on its knees, begging me to save them. And the best part? This was only the beginning of their downfall. When my old manager left my apartment that night, the air felt different. For weeks, I'd been carrying the weight of what they did to me, replaying that humiliating walk out of the office over and over. But now the roles had flipped. They weren't in control anymore. I was, and it was intoxicating. I didn't rush to give them an answer. In fact, I didn't give them one at all. I let them stew. Let them wonder if I'd come crawling back. Let them sweat under the pressure of their own choices. For the first time, they were the ones left waiting. Meanwhile, my life took on a rhythm I never expected. Freed from a grind of 9 to 5, I built something for myself. The first freelance gig turned into 3. The second client led to referrals. I worked from cafes, from my own living room, even from the park on sunny afternoons. My days were mine. My work was mine. And the strangest thing happened. I actually started enjoying it again. But while I was thriving, the company that fired me was collapsing. Sarah called me one Friday, her voice equal parts exasperated and amused. "You won't believe this," she said. "The board's panicking. Investors are threatening to pull out. They've lost 2 major accounts this month alone. And people are quitting left and right. Half the office is empty." Another coworker messaged me. They're rewriting history, saying you resigned abruptly. But nobody's buying it. Everyone knows the truth. It was surreal. The company I had once thought of as unshakable was unraveling like a cheap sweater, and the thread that had started it all was me. They hadn't just fired me. They'd ripped out the foundation, holding them up. Then came the headline that sealed their fate. An industry news site ran a piece about their leadership instability and unexpected terminations, calling into question their ability to meet client demands. Buried in the article, there was my name. It didn't say much, just that I'd been let go abruptly despite handling key operations. But it was enough. People saw it. People talked. The calls from clients didn't stop. One after another reached out, not to the company, but to me. "We trusted you," one said. "Not them." Another, "If you're available, we'd rather work with you directly." And just like that, my reputation outgrew theirs. I'll never forget the day I walked past their office building. The once busy lobby was eerily quiet, the receptionist's desk abandoned. The glossy logo that used to gleam proudly on the glass was gone, replaced by a landlord sign. For lease. That image stuck with me. The empire I had helped hold together for years, reduced to nothing but empty walls and echoes. Did I feel sad? No. I felt free. They thought they were cutting off dead weight when they fired me. What they really did was cut out their lifeline. And by the time they realized it, it was too late. And here's the truth. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their desperation. What I needed, what I had all along, was proof that my worth was never defined by their paycheck or their title. My value wasn't in being useful to them. My value was me. So when people ask me if I'd ever go back, I just laugh. Why would I return to the ashes when I've already built something better from the ground up? The company that fired me, without warning, ended up destroying itself. I didn't have to lift a finger. Their regret was their undoing. And me, I rose higher, stronger, freer. If you've been through something similar, if someone tried to write you off, dismiss your worth, or treat you like you were disposable, remember this. Sometimes, losing what you thought you needed is the only way to realize you never needed it at all. And sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success. So that's my story. Thank you for sticking with me through it. From that humiliating moment in HR's office to the quiet triumph of walking past their locked doors. If you found yourself hooked, if you saw a bit of your own story in mine, make sure you subscribe. I've got plenty more tales of workplace chaos, betrayals that backfired, and moments where karma came full circle. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.